Chapter 141. Wang Feng was so angry that she finally knew she had been cheated when she saw the name on the property deed. Qin Ming is obviously rich, but pretending to be poor, deceiving his brother, but also deceiving her Wang Feng, and 3 times back and forth, so that her gold-worshipping Lushan true face was clearly seen by Qin Xiaoyang. She wanted to squeeze Qin Xiaoyang's value is also impossible. She was angry, she was jealous. She tried to approach Qin Xiaoyang and said, "Xiaoyang, actually Although Qin Xiaoyang was infatuated and a bit dumb, he had seen Wang Feng's face clearly after these 3 changes of face and temptations. He waved his hand coldly and said, "Don't touch me, dirty. The house is my brother's, my brother has made a fortune, it has nothing to do with me." The big-breasted woman beside Wang Feng immediately said, "Aya, you scum. For whom did Xiao Feng work so hard to earn money? It's for your future comfort, isn't it? You are incapable of making a woman come out and show her face, and now that she has earned money, you think she is dirty." The long-legged woman also said, "That's right, he's a bastard, he's a bastard, he's a bastard, he's a bastard." Wang Feng cried and said, "Don't say that about Xiaoyang, I'm not worthy of him. I'm not clean anymore, it's normal for him to not want me. I'd better earn money honestly to pay off my debts to my family. I wish you well, Xiaoyang, and find a better woman in the future." When Qin Xiaoyang heard the word pay off and saw how poor Wang Feng looked, his heart softened again. He couldn't help but take Wang Feng's hand and hesitantly said, "Xiao Feng, you should not do this again." Bias at this time, Qin Ming picked up the phone and said, "Hey boss, decoration I have been following, well no problem, you can rest assured, we'll not let the boss's wife find out. The house is temporarily hanging my name, the boss's wife will not find out that you bought a house outside, in the future it will be convenient for you to come and go with sisterly." The crowd was shocked again. Didn't this house belong to Qin Ming? He bought it for his boss. His boss used it to hide his wife in a golden house? Qin Xiaoyang wondered, "Brother, didn't you buy this house?" Qin Ming pretended to hang up the phone and said with a sarcastic smile, "The money of the boss who gave me a lift, the accounts under his name are being watched closely by the boss's wife. I'll buy a house in my name and give it to his secretary for raising a baby later, and after a while, I'll have to go through the closing procedures and the boss will reward me with $1,000. Oh, so these 2 brothers were still poor pussies." Wang Feng frowned rather speechlessly and looked at Qin Ming like a demon. "Goodness you bastard, you've cheated me so badly." She roughly shook off Qin Xiaoyang's hand and lifted her bag to smack Qin Ming, saying, "I'll spit on you with a mouthful of spittle, you bastard, are you trying to make me happy?" Qin Xiaoyang was embarrassed and speechless. He slapped himself hard. What was the point of regretting? He slapped himself more than 10 times in a row. At this time, Qin Ming pulled the female police officer's arm and said, "Officer, I want to report a case. The 3 of them are prostitutes, 800 for the night and 500 for the hour. We are all witnesses, and they are still looking for my head." The policewoman's eyebrows furrowed as she saw that the 3 of them were dressed like prostitutes. Wang Feng was very anxious and said, You are spitting blood. Officer, don't listen to this poor man. The first thing you need to do is to take a look at the 3 of them. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get a job. I'm sorry, but I don't know what to say." The policewoman said seriously, 3, please cooperate with the investigation and show your ID cards." Wang Feng and the 3 women were furious. They had thought of calling the police to arrest Qin Ming, but ended up lifting a stone to smash their own feet. Wang Feng took out her ID card and handed it over in a very obscure manner, but one of the long-legged women next to her was unusually flustered and spilled the contents of her bag in a careless manner, and a small packet of pills fell out of it. It wasn't the usual hospital-prescribed pills, ordinary transparent film containing pills. Several police officers saw immediately alerted. This is not eaten will shake the head of drugs. The policewoman bellowed, "You three, put your hands up and stand aside." The long-legged woman shouted, "Ah, I'm innocent, I didn't know. It was Wang Feng who gave me the stuff." Wang Feng's face turned blue as she shouted, "Ali you bitch, what I gave you, it's obvious that you wanted to buy it from me, it's yours when it comes into your hands, what are you doing to blame me? Watch out, I'll ask Da to clean you up. If you don't say it, you'll become a pill seller." A police officer immediately pounced on Wang Feng, picked up the intercom and said, "Call the brigade, there is a situation here." Wang Feng seemed to realize that something was wrong and shouted, "I haven't broken the law, you can't arrest me. I still have to go earn money. Oh. I don't want to go to jail, Chaoyang, save me, save me." Qin Chaoyang don't look away from Wang Feng, he don't want to be cheated again. Qin Ming patted his elder brother's shoulder and said, "Brother, Wang Feng her father doesn't have any money at all to owe gambling debts, she cheated you. This kind of woman is not worth it." Qin Chaoyang sighed and said, "Brother, thank you. It's thanks to you this time, otherwise brother would have been trapped." The two brothers didn't bother with Wang Feng and went upstairs together. Later, they learned that Wang Feng and the other women rented the 5th floor with a so-called contractor called Dada, and the women went out to sell meat during the day, giving Dada a 50% cut of the money earned, and Dada also had channels to get drug pills for the 3 women to sell, and Dada took 70% of the profit from the money sold. This is a great chain of interests, which was accidentally discovered by Qin Ming, and then the police ended it all in one pot, and they all went to jail, and later the police station even came to Qin Ming and rewarded him with 500 yuan. All this was an afterthought. Qin Ming came to his house, which was being renovated quickly, but was only halfway there. He Mengu was cooking in the kitchen and invited the two brothers to eat together. The two were also used to being poor and casually made do with a meal. After the meal, Qin Ming asked, "Brother, from now on you can sleep here. The university isn't far from the supermarket, and it's easy to get to and from work." Qin Chaoyang asked curiously, "Didn't you just say that this was the house your boss bought for his secretary?" Qin Ming smiled sarcastically and said, "Our boss has a lot of houses, and his secretary doesn't necessarily live here yet. I'll arrange it for you if you really want to live here. Look, Auntie, he is my classmate's her mother, she originally came to Guangxi to see a doctor and stayed to work afterwards. It's too expensive to rent a place outside, even a cheap one costs more than 1,000 a month, isn't there more than $1,000 left here with me?" He Mengu laughed as she washed the dishes and said, "It is the good fortune of our pure ancestors that allowed her to meet classmate Qin, you have helped our pure so much, classmate Qin is really a great person." Qin Chaoyang was also very proud when he heard others praise Qin Ming, he patted him and said, "Brother, you have made your mark, brother is also very proud. I've figured it out, I want to make money, big money. If you follow the big boss, I will follow you. You will eat meat and my brother will drink soup, it is better than pulling bricks and building cement at the construction site." Qin Ming was overjoyed and said, "Brother, don't worry, I won't let you drink the soup." Qin Ming gave Qin Chaoyang a phone number and said, "Brother, this is our boss's subordinate, called Qi Minghui. He is in charge of the supermarket, you can usually contact him and do whatever he arranges for you to do, he will arrange for the induction, at least $10,000 a month salary." Qin Chaoyang was excited and happy, his eyes inexplicably flooded with tears, and suddenly hugged Qin Ming, a big man crying again. Qin Ming was very strange and said with a smile, "What's wrong, brother?" Qin Chaoyang choked up and said, "Nothing, let brother hug you for a while and see if you've gained or lost weight compared to before." Having arranged for his elder brother's job, Qin Ming's heart was finally satisfied that life at home would gradually improve in the future, without being abrupt and without giving away his current identity. Qin Ming chatted idly for a long time before he got up to go back to school. But just as Qin Ming walked out of the neighborhood, he saw a drunken woman wandering around with her bag. Surprisingly, it was Principal Liao's daughter, Liao Qingxian. There was a man pulling and pulling beside her, saying something about going to a hotel. Qin Ming had a bad feeling. Chapter 142. Qin Ming had only just walked out of the neighborhood when he ran into a drunken Liao Qingxian, who was accompanied by a svelte man with glasses. When Liao Qingxian walked towards the neighborhood, the man with glasses dragged him towards a nearby hotel. Qin Ming didn't want to care, but Principal Liao was his mentor and he couldn't ignore her daughter's affairs. Qin Ming stepped forward and said nonchalantly, "Who are you? Let my sister go." The man with the glasses frowned and said, "Kid, even corpse picking is first come first served. How about I'm first and you're second? I'll pay for the hotel room." Qin Ming was too lazy to talk and said, "Her name is Liao Qingxian, she is my sister. If you don't leave I will call the police. If you don't believe me you can talk to the police." The man with glasses grunted and slammed Liao Qingxian down hard, walking away quickly. Liao Qingxian fell to the ground wailing, "Oops, you're hurting me." Qin Ming sighed and walked over, saying, "Teacher Liao, you can still walk, right? Go back on your own. It's you. The poor and disobedient bumpkin, Qin Ming." Liao Qingxian squinted her eyes and recognized Qin Ming, but smiled and climbed up, saying, "Why do you have three? Are you a sun monkey? One here, one there, and another one there." Qin Ming said speechlessly, "Teacher Liao, I'll go back if you can, goodbye." But Qin Ming took 2 steps, Liao Qingxian hugged him from behind, her feet clamped down on him like a crab, and then smilingly blew in his ear, "Burp." Qin Ming depressed, "Rub, what a strong smell of alcohol, yuck. Teacher Liao, you're going too far like this." Liao Qingxian said in Qin Ming's ear, "Carry me up and I'll show you my boobs. The first thing you need to do is to get a good look at your boobs." Qin Ming said, "Will your husband misunderstand you at home?" Liao Qingxian lifted up her hair and giggled, husband. I, Liao Qingxian, am a dancer who has appeared in the Spring Festival Gala. What man is worthy of me? I don't have a husband, there are so many suitors, they are lining up in France and have fallen into the sea." Qin Ming was also amused to hear this drunken spilling of words from Liao Qingxian. Once he was in a good mood, he simply helped carry Liao Qingxian back. After Qin Ming asked which building and how many floors, he walked to the door of the house he bought, and he was amazed that Liao Qingxian lived opposite her. He took out the key and opened the door, and actually went in. There were 2 houses in the building, one big and one small. Qin Ming's side was more than 100 square feet, while this side was more than 70 square feet. Qin Ming threw Liao Qingxian onto the sofa and said, "I won't be looking at your boobs, Miss Liao, I'm leaving." However, Liao Qingxian suddenly reached out and pulled him back. "What are you leaving for?" "I said I'll show it to you, so I'll show it to you. Nyo, look." With that, Liao Qingxian threw over a project book report. Qin Ming bent down and picked it up, but it turned out to be a business plan for a high-grade dance training course, or specifically for a large event such as a TV station. Liao Qingxian giggled, "This is my secret. I have been planning for a long time, wearing this expensive professional shirt, looking for bosses to invest everywhere, drinking with this today, drinking with that tomorrow. But they all don't want to help me, they all just want my body." Qin Ming couldn't help but smile, so it wasn't a meme, it was a secret. Liao Qingxian burped again and said, "My mother doesn't know, she thought I was well as a university teacher clothed and living without worries. But she doesn't know that I owe a lot of credit card bills every month just to buy designer clothes, bags, jewelry, and enter high-end places. The job I had at university was not enough to pay me back and I still owe over 200,000. Qin Ming listened and was very saddened. Liao Qingxian really looked glamorous on the surface, but was living in debt? Qin Ming asked, why do you owe so much money if you lower your standard of living a little? One should know how to be content. Liao Qingxuan's body slid down to the ground, her face flushed with wine and even more beautiful. She lifted her hanging hair and said, satisfaction? Why do those rich people live in big villas, while I live in this kind of commodity building and still have to pay the mortgage? Those rich people have planes, yachts and luxury cars when they go out, but I have to go to the underground. Take the bus. How do you expect me to be satisfied? Why are you poor? Why are you poor? Why are you poor? The strainer? The man's milk? What's going on? What's the best way to get involved? What's left? Presidential goblet. After saying that, Liao Qingxian flopped down on the sofa and dozed off. Qin Ming licked his lips and said, upward mobility does not necessarily mean success, and there are many people who lose. It is only right to cherish the present moment. A young woman in a boudoir knows no sorrow, and regrets teaching her husband to look for a marquee. Qin Ming carried Liao Qingxian into the room, covered her with the blanket and turned to leave. Suddenly Liao Qingxuan's hand grabbed him and muttered, don't go, I don't want to be alone every day, you stay with me. Qin Ming shook his head and said, Teacher Liao, I have a girlfriend, she is beautiful and treats me very well. But Liao Qingxian didn't respond and had already started snoring. Qin Ming shook his hand off, but he couldn't get it off, and Liao Qingxuan's grip was unexpectedly tight. Qin Ming was torn, he changed his position, but failed in several attempts. Liao Qingxian just slept like a baby, but she wouldn't let go of him. After an hour of tossing and turning, Qin Ming slumped on the edge of the bed, speechless. Liao Qingxuan's hands were surprisingly strong, and if he was any rougher, he would have to hurt her. She was a dance teacher and it would be very troublesome to get her hands dirty. Qin Ming thought about it, so he gave in and fell asleep on the edge of the bed. The next morning, Qin Ming woke up and found himself still lying on his back, while his wrists were red from scratching, which showed how hard Liao Qingxian had scratched him last night, and that Liao Qingxian was no longer in bed. But Qin Ming heard a scattering of sounds in the toilet. He called out, Teacher Liao, you're up. I'm leaving, haha. With a click, the bathroom door opened. Liao Qingxian came out draped in a white bath towel, her hair dripping wet, revealing her delicate shoulders and long legs. It had to be said that women who practiced dancing really had a great figure. She said, why are you leaving? At least you saved me last night and stayed with me all night. You are also my mother's student, let me fix you a breakfast. Qin Ming was puzzled and asked, Miss Liao, do you know how to cook? It won't be dark cuisine, right? Liao Qingxian immediately put on a stern face and said, I'm a big beautiful woman cooking for you, and you still dislike it? What a straight man, love to eat or not, don't eat and leave. Qin Ming touched his stomach, he was just hungry, and said, then let's eat. Liao Qingxian didn't change her clothes either, so she hung a large bath towel, wrapping it around her waistline and only covering her chest and buttocks, and walked around the kitchen without the slightest scruple. Qin Ming looked at the large bath towel that could not cover her chest, and whether she would see half of her meatballs, he was a bit apoplectic. Qin Ming said, Teacher Liao, you'd better put on your clothes first. Liao Qingxian said with amusement, hey, you brat, you're not even hairy, what do you know? I'm 26 this year, I'm not younger than you, in my eyes you're just a brat, or a poor and proud brat. Qin Ming sighed in his heart, I'm 22, he said. Liao Qingxian suddenly turned around with the flat pan in her hand and said, what? Can't help seeing my long legs? Does the teacher have a nice figure? Liao Qingxian even shivered proudly, but as she did so, the large bath towel wrapped around her body suddenly slipped off. Qin Ming watched as the white bath towel fell to the ground, and Liao Qingxuan's figure was completely revealed in front of him, which could be described as an unobstructed view. Liao Qingxian was still smug and her expression froze. And Qin Ming froze for a moment and directly spilled a line of nosebleeds. Ah! The room immediately exploded with Liao Qingxuan's shameful screams. Chapter 143. Qin Ming held his head high and plugged his nostrils with a tissue. He couldn't have imagined that only half a month after breaking up with Li Meng, he had become so angry, his nose was bleeding at the sight of a woman's body. Liao Qingxian was also sitting aside in shame. By now she had put on a white blouse and black dance skirt, her cheeks were as red as a fever. She asked with a stern face, "Did you see all that?" Qin Ming held his head high and was also quite embarrassed, having somehow suffered a bloodbath. He nodded and said, "Good looking, with just the right proportions and not a hint of fat." He didn't have to lie, his nose was bleeding, so it would be pretentious to lie again. He admitted it graciously and let it go. Liao Qingxian could still ask him to be responsible. That's force majeure. Enough, you don't need to comment. Liao Qingxian was even more ashamed, grabbing her chopsticks and poking at the eggs in the bowl. She had expected this outcome, but she had somehow been at a disadvantage, her body. If it had been a young, handsome man, she would have found it a bit more acceptable. Liao Qingxian tried her best to maintain restraint and said, "It's better for you, you're just a hairless little kid anyway. However, don't tell anyone about this, got it? Otherwise I won't let you go." Qin Ming vowed, "Don't worry, Miss Liao, I won't tell anyone. As compensation, I'll introduce a rich boss to you, and maybe I can help you invest in a dance class." Liao Qingxian looked sideways at Qin Ming. She was indeed short of money and still owed more than 200,000 yuan to her bank credit card. She said, "What I want to run is not an ordinary dance training course, it's training for dance performances for various events on major TV stations, and the investment is huge. You're a poor student and you need my mother's help for your internship, so don't brag about yourself." Qin Ming laughed and said, "I really can." When Liao Qingxian saw Qin Ming's playful look, she felt unreliable and didn't believe it in her heart. She said with irritation and anger, "If you can help me, I will promise you one thing." Qin Ming was happy. He didn't expect Liao Qingxian to be quite angry. He also joked, "What can I do you, Miss Liao? I can't ask you to show me your body again, can I?" Liao Qingxian swung her chopsticks and hit him, saying, "Tisk, I didn't expect you to be a little villain, not studying properly at a young age, but having such a dirty mind." Qin Ming said as he dodged, "If you don't believe me, I'll call someone. He will be here later." When Liao Qingxian saw Qin Ming's unbeatable appearance, she became very angry, yet she was a bit expectant. Did this poor boy really know some big boss? She said, still very distrustful, "Fine, I promise you, if you can find someone to invest in me, I'll show you this little brat again." Qin Ming laughed and didn't take it seriously. He was just doing a favor, there was a return on investment and he didn't spend money for nothing. The two of them arranged to meet at the entrance of the district. Not long after, Qi Minghui drove up with the cherry. When Liao Qingxian saw the cherry, she instantly turned blue. She said with amusement, "The Izari 5 is only a few tens of thousands of dollars, such a person can invest millions in me for a training course. Qin Ming, you have expectations of you, I'm really crazy." Liao Qingxian head did not return, angrily stopped a taxi on the side and walked away directly. Qin Ming said, Hey, teacher Liao, really can Liao Qingxian poked her head out of the car and cursed in anger, "You've lost your mind, have you, trying to cheat me? I thought it wouldn't be that easy, so don't even appear in front of me again." Qi Minghui came out of the car and asked in a very strange manner, "Young master, is there any investment to be made? Why did that man leave?" Qin Ming put his hands together, "The car you drove was too inferior, so he didn't like it and ran away. Huh. Qi Minghui said he was helpless, he was just trying to follow Qin Ming's example and keep a low profile, but he didn't know that it would ruin things. However, he took out another VIP invitation letter and a stack of tickets and said, "Young master, my father said that there is a Hawaii Night El Blue Sky charity gala this weekend. If young master is interested, you can go and have fun. There will also be a lot of people from the Northern Chamber of Commerce that day. They should have approached my dad through my brother and want to meet young master." Qin Ming had met all the heads of the industries in southern China, and he felt that it was time to meet the heads of the industries in the north as well. Qin Ming collected his ticket and said, "All right, I will consider attending." Qin Ming sent Qi Minghui off to take his brother to do his business before he himself hurried back to school to attend classes. However, as he walked to the entrance of the school, he noticed a suitcase in the rubbish pile that stood out. Qin Ming frowned in confusion. He took out his mobile phone. He remembered that Zhang Xiaoyan had sent a photo of her suitcase in the class group, and in comparison, wasn't it the suitcase that Zhang Xiaoyan had disappeared? Qin Ming picked the suitcase up and found it empty, and there were words written on the edge of the suitcase, the words Zhang Xiaoyan of the economics class. The suitcase was still there, but the money was gone. Qin Ming remembered that when the money was lost before, Zhang Xiaoyan was very anxious, and almost became a bad anchor who cheated fans out of their rewards and made false donations because of this. Now the suitcase had been found, but the $500,000 inside had disappeared. Qin Ming muttered in his heart, "Who the hell did this?" Coldly, there was an angry rebuke from the side, "Qin Ming, it was actually you who did it." Qin Ming turned around in surprise. It was his classmates, a large group of people. At this time of the day, they should all be in their senior math class. How could they be here? Yang Wei said, "Isn't that suitcase Zhang Xiaoyan's? Zhang Xiaoyan lost it, so how did it end up in Qin Ming's hands?" Zhao Fugui said loudly, I was wondering why this kid didn't come to class anymore, so he came to do something bad secretly. Because at this time of the day, we are all in class, so no one can find out that you are up to no good." "Oh, but the heavens have eyes, Qin Ming, can't imagine, today teacher he is sick and our class is gone." Ma Fei said loudly, "This is really a crime scene, and it's hitting the gun." Because Zhang Xiaoyan had lost money before, and the amount was relatively large, everyone in the class knew about it, and everyone had spontaneously helped to look for it, so they were all very familiar with the luggage. Li Wan from the same class pointed at the suitcase and said, "Look, there's Xiaoyan's name on it. I'm in the same dormitory as Xiaoyan. I've seen this suitcase many times before, so I wouldn't be mistaken. Besides, it seems that Wang Qinju confessed his love to the schoolgirl that day, and there were quite a lot of people there, and at that time, Xiaoyan was also on the air, and she happened to run into Qin Ming, right?" Zhang Xiaoyan was a bit confused. She nodded her head. She did run into Qin Ming that day, and the two of them even exchanged greetings. Qin Ming also remembered that they had met at that time, but what could this prove? Zhao Fugui said loudly, "We've caught you with the stolen goods, Qin Ming, you are a thief. Where did you spend the money you stole from your classmates? Everyone catch him, don't let him escape. Qin Ming, you can't get away. Catch him and call the police. Qin Ming, you have to apologize to Zhang Xiaoyan." Qin Ming was immediately surrounded by people from the same class. He was so depressed. Why were these people so self-absorbed? Zhang Xiaoyan hadn't even spoken yet. Chapter 144. Qin Ming argued desperately, "I was just passing by and saw Xiaoyan's suitcase being thrown into the rubbish and picked it up. How many times do I have to say it? I didn't steal the money. There are no cameras near the rubbish heap, how can I explain? I'm telling the truth." Qin Ming was also angry. It just so happened that the people were all in Zhao Fugui's group now. Zhao Liniu, Liang Xiaoyang and the others had all gone elsewhere to have fun and didn't come this way, so all these people were now targeting him. Zhao Fuegui said disdainfully, "Come on, Qin Ming doesn't need to pretend. $500,000 for a poor man like you. What's the matter with you? Zhengkao Eris Tokyo? Slow flogging? The first thing you need to do is to get rid of it. You can't afford to pay for it. The newest and most popular of all, the newest and most popular of all. The newest and most popular of all, the newest and most popular of all. The first thing you need to do is to get rid of the box." Ma Fei also said, "We all saw that you were going to throw away this box. We are all witnesses. If you picked it up, why didn't you tell Zhang Xiaoyan? You're just lying." The crowd pulled and pulled, insisting that Qin Ming be arrested and taken to the police station. Zhang Xiaoyan seemed a little confused. She had always been good friends with Qin Ming, and even invited him to the Huai Night Charity Gala with her modest tickets. She could not have imagined that Qin Ming was the culprit who stole her money. Or maybe she thought Qin Ming was right and it might be a misunderstanding. But the people around her were very enthusiastic in helping her out, and she was indecisive in her mind. As the crowd pulled and tugged, the school teacher came over on the news and a number of people gathered around to join in the fun. "What's going on?" Wang, the class teacher who rushed over, asked, "Has Zhang Xiaoyan's lost suitcase been found?" Zhao Fuegui yelled, "Yes, Teacher Wang, look, it was Qin Ming who did it. He stole the money and was about to throw the suitcase away when we found it." When Zhao Fuegui said this, the students around couldn't help but feel righteous indignation. What could be more hated than a thief? It was also very coincidental that among the onlookers, there were also Chen Mulin, Fang Jinsheng, Wang Xiaoli and other people Qin Ming knew. Wang Xiaoli couldn't help but shake her head and said, "Aya, that Qin Ming, he really knows people. He even said before that he invited us to get high at Nanshan Manor and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it turns out that he stole the money, and he even bragged about winning the lottery." Wang Jing said disdainfully, "A rich man is a rich man, he stole the money and spent it all at once." Fang Jinsheng said, "Remember this guy, he is a poor man. What's wrong with him?" The cabinet. The first thing you need to do is to get a good idea of what you are doing. The old dense neon stands? The company's main business is to provide a wide range of services to the public. Sulfur. Juggling. Tundan. Ugly woman seems to return to the earth seal. The crowd who didn't know the situation exclaimed, "No way, this one called Qin Ming is so? Pan Junkong higher low? Thumbs up, why that? I don't know what to say." The crowd was shocked. "No way." The crowd exclaimed, "No way." The people around him were so happy to hear Qin Ming's accusations. Zhao Fuegui was overjoyed to hear the people around him accuse Qin Ming, remembering the humiliation he had previously suffered at the China World Hotel because of Qin Ming, and the fact that the internet ID Qin Ming, who is not a forensic scientist, was also angry at him because his ID had the word Qin Ming in it, and now that so many people were accusing Qin Ming, Zhao Fuegui was in a particularly good mood. He continued, "Qin Ming, you're poor, you don't work hard, but you choose to do this kind of thievery. It's really disgusting. I feel ashamed to be in the same class as you." A girl in the class said, "Give all the money back, it was earned by Xiao Yan's hard work on air. It's meant for charity." "Yeah, Xiao Yan even invited you to Huai Night, give back the tickets." Chen Mulin stood behind the crowd, secretly shaking her head, very disappointed with Qin Ming as she muttered to herself, "To steal money from a classmate, why did I expect that from him? Was it the time at the hospital when he stood up for me? Or was it the time he saved me on the yacht? Forget it, this kind of person is a liar who is full of lies." The girl next to Chen Mulin said, "Forget it, Ling Ling, what are you? He is a poor man. He is a poor man. I don't know what to do, but I'm not sure what to do." The most important thing is that you can't be a part of the world. Tendeng. The court has to be slowed down. You can't do that. Chen Mulan shook her head and said, let's go, let's go, let's go pick out party dresses. Some people left, and some came. Nai Haitang, who had arrived at the news, was so angry that she disregarded her goddess image and forcibly pulled everyone away, rushing to Qin Ming's side, shielding him from the stormy whirlwind and questioning loudly, who are you to slander people? Carrying a suitcase means you stole money. Where is the evidence? The people around were instantly quiet, not because of any evidence, but because of Nai Haitang. Who didn't know Nai Haitang at this university? On the first day of school, Nai Jianmin drove a dozen luxury cars, rolled out a red carpet and hired a bodyguard to send his daughter to school, high profile to proclaim his daughter's status and background as the envy of many people's miskinjin. Every day Nai Haitang is a beautiful sight wherever she goes, and is said to have turned down many offers from talent scouts and entertainment companies, and the Nai family is still one of the gentry in Guangzhou. It is said that Nai's family is one of the most powerful families in Guangzhou, but such a young lady is defending a poor man who is not well known. Pan Jun. The crowd couldn't help but wonder, what was their relationship? The first thing you need to do is to get a good look at the situation. The last time they were at the China Hotel, they looked like a couple. The three biggest schoolgirls in the school, two of them have been picked up by Qin Ming. Wasn't he a bit strong in his social skills? No, Zhao Fugui was exceptionally jealous. In fact, not only Zhao Fugui, but also all the boys at the scene had a big I'm a grass close-up in their hearts, and it was also the first time that the surrounding boys had seen Nai Haitang so close up. But her face was so full of determination to defend Qin Ming that no one dared to speak nonsense. Qin Ming was also surprised and said, Haitang, what brings you here? Nai Haitang said, I saw someone bad-mouthing you in the WeChat group, so I rushed here. She pushed people away and shouted, get lost, what are you doing? You're in my way, Zhang Qing. Qin Ming is a member of my badminton club, what is he doing, huh? I know best as president. Qin Ming, did you steal the money? Qin Ming said, no. Zhang Qing pointed loudly at everyone and scolded, hear me, no. My little brother is something you can accuse. He can only be punished by me. Qin Ming rolled his eyes. He thought that Zhang Qing had found his conscience and had come to help her, but it turned out that he had come to defend the dignity of her old Buddha. The boys hesitated, more or less for the sake of the beauty, and kept quiet. But the girls were not afraid, they were more jealous of Nai Haitang's status and beauty, and felt that Nai Haitang was asking for trouble by standing up for herself. Li Wang clasped her hands and walked forward, saying, Nai Haitang, this is our class business, what is your relationship with Qin Ming? Who are you to interfere with our class? He is just a petty thief who stole money, what does it have to do with you? Xiao Yan has lost $500,000, and he is a poor? What does it matter to you? What does it matter to you? The first thing you need to do is to get a job. The same class of Wang Mizia is more condescending but live to, yes, our Xiao Yan live every day how hard those are the gifts sent by fans, years of savings. He Qin Ming stole it without saying a word, the human stolen goods. Did you pay him compensation? Who are you to him? Nai Haitang was so angry at hearing this that she exploded in anger, pulling Qin Ming's hand and exclaiming, what kind of relationship? I'm his girlfriend, am I qualified to stand up for him? It's only $500,000, I'll pay for him. Quiet, the surrounding students were all dumbfounded and dumbfounded. A boy broke down and covered his face, no, the goddess of my dreams. Chapter 145. On this side of the school dump, it could be described as crowded, yet unusually quiet. The moment Nai Haitang said, in public, that she was Qin Ming's girlfriend, everyone was stunned. Nai Haitang was quite popular both inside and outside the school. After all, she was from a wealthy family and a beautiful woman. Many students in the school network touted her, plus she, like Bai Yuchun, hadn't been in love since her studies, no doubt leaving many people with fantasies. But today, the fantasy was shattered. Nai Haitang was in love with someone else. The crowd all looked at Qin Ming speechlessly, who looked nothing special, and was dressed very cheaply, with a face of oil, hair in a mess like a bird's nest, and jeans that were washed white with patches. What a flower in a cow dung. The company's main business is to provide a wide range of products and services to the public. Qin Ming was also surprised. Didn't Nai Haitang say that? The company's main business is to provide a wide range of products and services to the public. How come Nai Haitang had just announced it now? However, Qin Ming looked down at the hand that was gripping him tightly. Her small palm was a little tense, yet very warm. A boy angrily clenched his fist and said, "Can I beat up that Qin Ming?" Teacher Wang warned, "Students, please remain calm, it's not right to hit others." Faced with the strong jealousy emanating from the raging crowd, Qin Ming was helpless. He hadn't even showered last night because of Liao Qingxian, and had rushed back to school and gotten all sweaty, so of course his whole face was covered in face oil, so he blamed him for being ugly. Infinite. But Qin Ming feels that no one in this world loves Nai Haitang more than he does. Zhang Qingqing was holding her head speechlessly, thinking, "This is the end, my best friend is crazy, she does not know how much influence she has in the school public opinion. Maybe Fortune magazine will come to gossip about her love story too. This Qin Ming poor? Pan-pleasing goblet? The goblet? The magazine will also be interested in her love story? Ayaji Psych." After announcing the relationship between the two, Nai Haitang saw that the people around her shut up and proudly lifted her chin, saying, "Then who is the owner? This money, I'll return it." Li Wan and Wang Mizia didn't dare to say anything. It wasn't the money they had lost after all. They are more comfortable with Zhao Fuegui, because Zhao Fuegui often date, go out to spend money is Zhao Fuegui cover, and occasionally have a sex also a lot of income, while Qin Ming is a poor. The actual fact is that you can find a lot of people who are not able to afford to pay for their own personalized services. The actual fact is that you can find a lot of people who are not able to afford to pay for their own personalized services. The actual fact is that you can't get a lot of money from the company. The eyes of the crowd looked at Zhang Xiaoyan, who was still in a state of confusion. "The day I lost the money, I did see Qin Ming, but there was little evidence to prove that Qin Ming took it. Just now Qin Ming also said that he was passing by the rubbish dump and found my suitcase, and when he picked it up, the money was already gone." Qin Ming nodded and said, "I didn't steal the money, Xiaoyan, do you believe me?" Zhang Xiaoyan looked into Qin Ming's eyes and she felt sincerity and concern, something she could not see in other students. She said, "Well, I believe Qin Ming. It's better to leave this matter to the teacher." Zhao Fuegui suddenly became very anxious and said, "No way. This is all stolen goods. Xiaoyan, Qin Ming is lying to you. Leave it to the police to deal with it and convict him." Nai Haitang clasped her hands to her chest, held her chin high and said with great dissatisfaction, "Fine, leave it to the police. I trust my boyfriend completely. If the investigation turns out to be something else, I'll sue you for slander, and you can just wait for the lawsuit." Hiss, what a fierce little cutie. Qin Ming looked at Nai Haitang and his heart melted. He wanted to wrap it up and nibble on those little lips, but there were so many people around, he couldn't mess around. But Qin Ming immediately felt the jealousy of the boys around him, and their poisonous stares that attempted to beat him up. Zhao Fuegui was still undeterred and said, "So Qin Ming, what were you doing that day?" That day Wang Qinju confessed his love to Bai Yuchun, the schoolgirl of Pingming, and many people got together. "Where did you go after you met up with Xiaoyan? What did you do?" You should tell us instead and make it clear. Qin Ming frowned. The day he went to the hungry delivery boy and asked for the electric car, then rescued Bai Yuchun. Bai Yuchun could then give him as a human witness. But, he couldn't say His flying car rescue had made such a big deal, if it was published, that would give Bai Yuchun a bad reputation, and, Nai Haitang would also be affected. When Zhao Fugui saw that Qin Ming was silent, he was overjoyed and said, "Humph, how's that? Nothing more to say, right? You have to pay back the money, and your charge of stealing the money has to be implemented." Zhao Fugui's little brother Ma Fei also arrogantly said, "You want to get rid of the charge of thievery by relying on a woman, that's a no-no." Nai Haitang had no choice now. The money, she could take it out, but how could she take off the hat of stealing money? Although she believed that Qin Ming would not steal the money, she could not stop these people from slandering Qin Ming. Someone next to her couldn't help but say, "Nai Haitang, I think you'd better not help this poor Pan caustic tax umbrella K, deng. The overseas couch porridge 11 scar? The paper delicacy 2 black said Bissell? The actual fact is that you can't be sure that you're going to be able to get a good deal on your own. The black character. The actual fact is, there are plenty of good men out there, so why look for such a poor man? The actual fact is that you can find a lot of people who are not in a good position to get the job done." The badminton club's Fang Jinshen's heart cut like a knife, his crush on the goddess, but with Qin Ming, he was jealous, he wanted to break them up. He said loudly, "This is not with Nai Haitang matter, is Qin Ming's sweet mouth, slippery tongue, cheating people. Do you remember what happened on the school website forum? This Qin Ming started a mess and abandoned his first love. Oh, I remember, this guy is a scum. There are times when a goddess' eyes are bad." Seeing that these people had been brought up to speed and rehashed old stories, Nai Haitang loudly retorted, "Those are all false, can you tell the truth from the false?" But how many people were listening? Most of the onlookers were just lively, while those who had the intention to bring the rhythm were simply doing it on purpose. Nai Haitang was at her wit's end, and she took Qin Ming's hand and said, "Qin Ming, what should we do? They slandered you." Qin Ming laughed and said, "I'm not afraid of the shadow, I haven't done it, so what am I afraid of? Let these people say what they want." At this moment, Mr. Wang waved his hand to signal everyone to quiet down. All right, everyone, stop arguing, let's disperse and go to class. The teacher will take care of this matter. Just now, I received a call from the police station. They said that there is a new development regarding the money lost by Zhang Xiaoyan's classmate. They will be there soon." Speaking of CAO, a police car drove in. 4 able police officers got out of the car. One of them was a pretty young female police officer, surprisingly the same one who had arrested those people from Wangfeng last night. The policewoman who fell behind recognized Qin Ming and smiled crookedly. "Classmate, we really have a connection. You were involved in the KFC injury incident last time. You were also involved in the suspected kidnapping of Miss Qinjin at the Quilong Hotel. You were also involved in the arrest of a drug trafficking and prostitution ring yesterday, and you are still involved in a theft case to be solved today. You're not going to get into trouble for a day, are you?" The corner of Qin Ming's mouth twitched. What? He didn't remember having so many encounters with this policewoman. Also, what did he mean by trouble? It was all kinds of shit that came to him, right? Mr. Wang asked the captain at the head of the group, "Captain Fan, is there any progress in the case? Is there anything under surveillance?" A police officer laughed and said, "We don't rely on surveillance alone to solve cases." Captain Fan said, "Yes, Mr. Wang, according to the information provided by Zhang Xiaoyan, the cash she withdrew from the bank the night before the theft, a batch of new bank notes, or consecutive numbers, was recorded in the bank. In the last few days, in the construction bank near the university, someone deposited in that batch of consecutive numbered banknotes one after another, the new batch of banknotes that Zhang Xiaoyan had lost. Since they knew about the new batch of consecutive numbered banknotes, they naturally knew the bank card where the money was deposited, and they knew the name of the card owner. Li Wan and Wang Mizia hurriedly asked, "Is that Qin Ming?" The group also quieted down, lest they miss the next key. Captain Fan shook his head and said, "It's not this Qin Ming student, he assisted us in solving a big case at the same time last night, he's not depositing money in the bank." Nai Haitang asked anxiously, "Then who exactly is it?" "My boyfriend was vilified like this and he got away with the money, I won't let him off the hook." Captain Fan recalled the bank surveillance he had watched yesterday, and his eyes immediately moved to Qin Ming's class, finally settling on. Chapter 146. Qin Ming suddenly said, Zhao Fugui, where are you going?" The crowd froze and followed Qin Ming's gaze, but they saw that Zhao Fugui had somehow gone from standing in front of people to standing behind them. He was called by Qin Ming, and instead of walking away, he quickened his pace. But Zhao Fugui hadn't gone far when he was stopped by the young female policeman, saying, "You are Zhao Fugui. Why are you so panicked?" Zhao Fugui's face was tense as he stammered, "My stomach hurts, I'm going to the toilet." Captain Fan said, "There is no hurry, there are toilets in the police station." "Mr. Wang, Zhang Xiaoyan, the card owner who deposited that batch of consecutive tickets is Zhao Fugui, and after our investigation, he is a student of your school. But only 200,000 he deposited into the bank, there is another 300,000 somewhere." Wow! The crowd was shocked that the truth had finally come out and they all looked at Zhao Fugui. Some in the class who were not on good terms with Zhao Fugui immediately mocked, "Humph, this guy just screamed the loudest and had to convict Qin Ming, and said something about people getting the stolen goods, it's really funny, in the end it was him who did it." Yang Wei and Ma Fei were both embarrassed to stand a little further away, to save themselves from being seen standing with Zhao Fugui and being implicated. "Zhao Fugui, no wonder you were screaming so loudly just now, trying to set Qin Ming to death, so it was you who did it. I can't imagine that a rich second generation like Zhao Fugui would be greedy for his classmates' money. Oh, he just has a bit of money in his family, there will still be a big gap compared to the real rich second generation. Tisk, really, the more you scream, the bigger the problem, thanks to him slandering Qin Ming like that just now. Qin Ming is the one who is innocent. Things are reversing, is that schoolgirl posing as a girlfriend simply to help her friend? In fact, Nai Haitang is just Qin Ming's shield." Nai Haitang happily held Qin Ming's hand but said with a smile, "I am his girlfriend." Mr. Wang walked up to Zhao Fugui and said in a long and serious voice, "Zhao Fugui, tell me honestly, did you pick it up? Now the police have got the evidence, if you refuse to admit it, the consequences will not be simple." Zhao Fugui looked at the police officers and panicked, his legs kept shivering. Returning the money was a small matter, but being convicted was a big matter. It was true that he had found the money, because when Qin Ming drove the electric car to take away Bai Yuchun, there was chaos at the scene, and Zhang Xiaoyan was also concerned about chasing after the live broadcast, forgetting about the money box beside him, and he happened to pass by and took it by hand. Zhao Fugui nodded in silence. He had also saved a batch of money one after another, then threw away the suitcase while there were fewer people this morning, then had the sanitation rubbish truck send it away, not wanting Qin Ming to pass by and stumble upon it. When the crowd saw him nod, they also finally knew the truth, that they had misunderstood Qin Ming. But not one of them gave Qin Ming an apology. Especially Wang Mizia, Li Wan, Yang Wei, and Ma Fei, who had shouted the fiercest earlier. Nai Haitang said angrily, "You guys just threw all kinds of dirty water over here, and now not even one of you has apologized. Do you think my boyfriend is easy to bully?" Wang Mizia gritted her teeth and said disdainfully, "What did I say? Can't I even be suspicious? Cut, everyone was suspicious at that time, so who are you to say that we are? Why don't you let others apologize? If I don't apologize, why don't you hit me? Ma Fei put up his middle finger and said, why apologize? Are you guilty of being suspicious now? Who told Qin Ming to press the suitcase? She hasn't even said a word to Xiao Yan. Li Wan became even more arrogant. Is it a big deal to be rich? You can do whatever you want with money. Are you going to sue us for slander? This was really shameless. Zhang Xiaoyan had believed in Qin Ming from the beginning. Qin Ming also shook his head and said, forget it, Haitang, they usually play around with Zhao Fugui, they won't apologize. Besides, I don't even care about these so-called vilifications, I'm not a child. Nai Haitang couldn't be angry. Qin Ming had been vilified like this, a trumped-up charge that could make a lot of people stink, and she couldn't stand this anger. Classmate Qin Ming, I'm sorry. Suddenly, a boy next to her who she did not know spoke up. The crowd was very strange, and Qin Ming was even stranger, he didn't know this guy at all. I only heard him laugh, I was also misled by the real prisoner, misunderstood and scolded you just now. I dared to do it. By the way, I return all the words I just scolded you to the real money thief, Zhao Fugui, what a Svengali scum. He stole all the money from his own classmates, so much money, won't his conscience hurt? Qin Ming was moved for a moment, there were still more people who understood things. He also smiled and said he wouldn't mind. Classmate Qin Ming, I'm sorry, I also said something bad just now and misunderstood you, it's all because that bitch Zhao Fugui misled us. I'm sorry fellow Qin Ming, mistakes have to be admitted, I was wrong too. Qin Ming is sorry. So Zhao Fugui's accomplices, did they share the spoils? Just now slandered Qin Ming so aggressively, now deadly refuses to apologize, really low character. That Wang Mizia I know, a notorious gold-digging girl, loves to hang kaiju, and doesn't take a piss to look at herself, the boys in the circle all say she is a broken shoe. That Yang Wei is also a philandering slag, he, with a few stinking money, often harasses girls from other departments. Hey, Zhao Fugui seems to be the son of the owner of that supermarket at the intersection off campus, from now on people don't go to their supermarket to buy things. Wow. You go there to buy things. The service attitude is so bad, I'd rather go to the kiosk on campus and sweep the pedestrian street for what I can't buy, than go to that small supermarket, the attitude is super bad. With a start, the people behind them were also very frank in admitting their misunderstandings and mistakes, and then pointed their risque heads at Zhao Fugui and Wang Mizia and the others, but they were really even picked up on their past. They were so ashamed that they were dumbfounded and blushed, and they wanted to find a crack to burrow into. Zhang Qingqing pointed directly at Fang Jinsheng who was about to sneak away and said, Fang Jinsheng, come here, you're all from the same club, you misunderstood Qin Ming, why don't you apologize? Fang Jinsheng was thick-skinned, smiled awkwardly and said, President, I just said it. Oh, Qin Ming, it's me who misunderstood you, I'm sorry. Qin Ming smiled lightly, not caring what Fang Jinsheng said, this guy would never sincerely apologize. Nai Haitang was very happy and said, people with quality are the ones who are brave enough to admit their mistakes. People who are in cahoots with thieves are the first to slander good people and then have the cheek to not take it seriously afterwards. Ha ha ha, it's really true that things come together in groups, you are all classmates yet, be careful not to lose anything in the future. Zhang Xiaoyan was also very angry, Wang Mizia was still trying to set her up with Zhao Fugui before, she was completely bought by Zhao Fugui, what a plastic bosom friend. Moreover, she had invited Wang Mizia to go to the Huai Night Charity Gala with her, she now said directly, Wang Mizia, I suddenly remembered that I don't have enough tickets for the weekend gala, you can't go. Zhang Xiaoyan had already said it very euphemistically, which actually meant that she was not taking you to the party, so get lost. Wang Mizia, Ma Fei, and the others were embarrassed. All the people who had slandered Qin Ming had apologized, but they were the only ones who hadn't. Didn't this highlight their lack of quality and most likely also their accomplices in stealing money? It was a shame. Qin Ming said, "If you are righteous, you will not do what you are told, but if you are not right, you will not obey. Let's not make it difficult for them. Asking them to admit their mistakes is worse than killing them." Wang Mizia roughly pushed the crowd away and said, "Humph, Qin Ming, you don't have to be complacent." Ma Fei, Yang Wei, and the others immediately followed suit and ran off in a huff. Teacher Wang shook his head speechlessly and said, "Kids nowadays have no sense of right and wrong. It's obvious that they are wrong, but they still don't admit it. Admitting your mistakes is also a sign of courage. Classmates, you have all done well. Mistakes are not scary, just correct them. What is scary is not having the courage to correct your own mistakes." Yes. The crowd was not very interested in listening to the teacher's lecture and replied perfunctorily. In the end, Zhao Fuegui, who admitted to stealing the money, was taken away by the police, and the money had to be paid back, but it was not known how much he could pay back. But more than something like Zhao Fuegui stealing money from his classmates, today the school network exploded with the topic of Nai Haitang's famous flower having a master, and the heat skyrocketed, with many boys going to bars that day to get drunk and stay out all night. And Qin Ming is in big trouble because of this. Chapter 147. By the side of the tree-lined school road, Qin Ming was holding Nai Haitang's catkin hand as they strolled leisurely. Qin Ming asked with great confusion, "Haitang, aren't you getting yourself into trouble by making our relationship public like this? You're a big topic of conversation within the school. I remember once when you changed your hairstyle twice, there were quite a few people posting about it on the school internet forum." Nai Haitang pouted nervously, "Those are all fake things, they're not useful to me at all." "What? Are you still unhappy about disclosing your relationship? Are you having an affair with another woman? That Zhang Xiaoyan called so affectionately, and that policewoman is quite pretty and remembered you." Qin Ming cried and laughed, reaching out to pinch Nai Haitang's face and jokingly said, "Phew, is our beauty Haitang still a jealous woman? Xiaoyan and I have a good relationship, so it makes sense for you to be jealous. But that policewoman, I don't even know her name, what are you jealous of?" Nai Haitang suddenly punched Qin Ming with her small fist in shame and said, "Fine, you Qin Ming, I'm angry, if you don't make me happy, I'll ignore you." Qin Ming laughed and pulled Nai Haitang into a hug, "Just ignore me, you can't get away anyway." Nai Haitang was shy as Qin Ming forced her into a hug, biting her lip and saying, "Nasty, you big bad egg." Since there was no class at noon, Qin Ming planned to go shopping for a dress for the weekend party. Since he was going, he should prepare properly so as not to make a joke. He did not want to make a fool of himself and make Nai Haitang lose face as well. When Qin Ming suggested going to buy a dress, Nai Haitang shook her head a bit torn and said, "Qin Ming, why don't we rent one? It's too expensive to buy a dress when you're only going to the party once anyway." Qin Ming said doubtfully, "How can that work? How embarrassing for you." Nai Haitang smiled and snuggled up to Qin Ming, saying, "What status do I have? I'm just an ordinary person. I have no honor, no education, no wealth, the only thing I have is you. I can't stand the way Nai Haitang talks about love, I want to give her everything I have." Qin Ming wrapped his arm around Nai Haitang's waist, feeling the youthful energy emanating from her young body and smelling the fragrance of her hair. His mood naturally became very good. He said, "Haitang, don't worry, I won't let you suffer. I'll buy you a brand new dress." Nai Haitang shook her head, "Good dresses are very expensive, and originally I wasn't short of that kind of money, but my family is currently in trouble again. It's not a foregone conclusion, but it's really hard to say if we can get over this hurdle this time." Qin Ming's heart twitched. He actually knew it in his heart but couldn't say anything. Everything was done to make the Nai family recognize Qin Ming. He was also giving Nai Zhengming a lesson and had to do it. But Qin Ming also felt more or less guilty in his heart. He was the one who caused the Nai family to get into such a situation. But is Nai Zhengming a fool? Qi Minghui had hung him out to dry for so long, and he couldn't remember that he had offended Qin Ming? And then come over to apologize pathetically? The last time he misunderstood Nai Haitang and kidnapped her, Nai Zhengming didn't apologize at the hotel, but he was really a rich kid. Nai Haitang pursed her lips and said, "If I were to become a girl from an ordinary family, would you dislike me?" Qin Ming laughed and said, "No matter how poor you become, I won't dislike you." Nai Haitang was very happy to hear these sweet and honeyed words. "Qin Ming, I knew it, you are different. However, it's okay to rent the dress, I don't want to waste money. My dad went to that charity party, also to pull strings with the Qi family, but the Qi family is very influential in Guang City, we simply can't compete, it's not easy to say whether people will see us or not." Qin Ming took a hand and said, "Don't worry, everything will be fine." Nai Haitang was still worried, but those wealth magazines, the gossip media, even the proper Guangcheng Daily are all starting to say that our Nai family is in big trouble this time, and that the second young master of the Qi family is targeting us with unclear intentions. This isn't on the same level as the He family. Qin Ming suddenly asked, "Your family didn't ask you to join up again, did they?" Nai Haitang shook her head and said, "No, we haven't even met anyone from the Qi family, and the second youngest of the Qi family is only willing to see my brother, as if my brother has offended someone, but my brother can't remember. If my brother doesn't solve this trouble and the second youngest of the Qi family sells those shares to Yang He Group, then our family's bathroom group will have to change hands." Qin Ming was also speechless. His existence in Nai Zhenming's heart was that low? Hadn't it been made very clear that day? If he dared to accept his $100,000, he would be in big trouble, and he couldn't think of anything else. Qin Ming continued soothingly, "Don't worry, I'll raise you in the future." Nai Haitang smiled sweetly and pouted, "I can earn my own money, I don't want you to support me." Qin Ming laughed and said, "You can bring up the child without worrying, earning money is a man's business." When Nai Haitang heard this, her cheeks flew up and she said nervously, "What are you talking about? It's still too early to get married." Qin Ming smiled playfully, "So you mean you're willing to marry me?" "Ah!" Nai Haitang was suddenly shocked and pinched his arm in shame, saying, "Good, Qin Ming, you're trapping me, you're so bad." The two of them laughed and laughed, holding hands, and walked out of the school unaware of the sweetness. Qin Ming happened to walk to a key intersection outside the school, only to see some engineering surveyors planning something opposite Zhao Fugui's supermarket, and some municipal leaders on the ground, including Qi Minghui and elder brother Qin Chaoyang. He pointed over there and said, "Soon there will be a brand new big supermarket here, and the small supermarket across the street won't be able to do it anymore. I am a partner in this supermarket and have changed the bus route in the future. It is also close to the underground entrance, which is simply a great location. Other facilities will be added later, and with so many university students every year, the spending power is very strong, so I won't be a poor boy in the future. So, buy a party dress for my own girlfriend, no less." Nai Haitang looked at the front. Not only were there the second youngest of the Qi family, but also the mayor and the leaders of the transport department, as well as the leaders of the investment office present. All those people Nai Haitang had met before when she followed her father Nai Jianmin. She had a good memory and remembered them all from the one time she had seen them. The only one she didn't recognize was a tall, dark-skinned man with a Chinese face and very ordinary clothes. Nai Haitang was surprised and said, "You're not bragging, are you?" Qin Ming said, "Do you think I look like someone who loves to brag? Go over and say hello." The two of them were about to go over when suddenly a Mercedes Maybach stopped by the roadside. Wasn't it Ni Zhenming's car? He got out of the driver's seat with a very haggard face. He was carrying a briefcase, looked at Ni Haitang and then at Qin Ming, and walked straight over. Chapter 148. As soon as Ni Zhenming came up, he pulled away from Ni Haitang and pointed at Qin Ming, angrily scolding him, "Qin Ming, how many times have I warned you about you? Stay away from my sister." Immediately, Ni Haitang grimaced and took Ni Zhenming's hand with great sorrow, saying, "Aya, brother. I'm not a child, why do you care so much about me?" Ni Zhenming said, "Sister, don't be fooled by this guy, he's not a good person. Last time you were kidnapped, he was at his leisure and had a presidential suite in a big hotel for prostitution. Instead of being grateful, he forced me to apologize. Tisk, he doesn't care about you at all." Ni Haitang was speechless. She couldn't explain, she couldn't say that she was still hiding in the sink in the bathroom at that time, could she? Wouldn't that be asking her own brother to misunderstand that she was showering with Qin Ming? What? You're talking about the mixed bathing spa at Nanshan Manor? That's a hot spring, can it be the same? Ni Haitang felt in her heart that it was different. Qin Ming also rolled his eyes, not bothering to argue with this dumbass brother-in-law. Sometimes it was good to shut up. Ni Zhenming said, "Sister, you come with me for a moment. It took me a lot of effort to find out that the second youngest of the Qi family is here today. He has recently changed his car and his movements have become secretive, so it's hard to find him." Ni Haitang looked into the distance and asked, "Brother, what can I do?" Ni Zhenming said, "Help say a few good words. My sister is so pretty, so maybe if a pretty girl speaks up people will agree and not mess with selling our family's equity." Qin Ming was displeased and said, "Are there people who sell their sister like that?" Ni Zhenming said angrily, "Shut up you poor Panjun. Sulfur. The sheet. The goblet is a small, but very small, and it's a very small goblet. The goblet of a court of law. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that." He also said, "Am I selling my sister? This is my brother and sister coming together to save the family." Qin Ming narrowed his eyes. "In the heat of the day, you let Ni Haitang go with you to beg people, this is still your own trouble, you also have the face to say?" He also did not panic, slowly educate Ni Zhenming, brother-in-law education is good, then it is left mother-in-law. At the empty spot at the road junction, Qi Minghui was holding a plan and talking to the mayor and other leaders. The land was approved so quickly thanks to Mayor Lu, and you even came personally. I really don't dare to. Mayor Lu laughed and said, "Oh, you're welcome, Mr. Qi, I still have to call your father an elder. And if you want to invest in Guangzhou City, then we also welcome you. However, only investing a few million is not in line with your style. Second young Master Qi, we still have a lot of land in the high-tech park, as well as many channels, and occasional international exhibitions. If you invest in high-tech, that's the way to make big money." Qi Minghui smiled sarcastically, that investment would not be small, the research and development stage would be over 100 million, that tax can't even be eaten. Mayor Lu laughed, "Oh, don't worry, Mr. Qi, we have a policy to reduce the tax for high-tech enterprises. How about investing 500 million to get it going first?" He heard that the supermarket would cost 5 million, which was an astronomical figure, but now he heard the two of them talking. 500 million is just for a little bit, the world of the rich is really scary. He lamented in his heart, "Qin Ming he knows are big people, hey, my brother can really make a difference, I feel proud of myself." Qi Minghui was having a good chat with several city leaders, discussing a meal at the Greater China Hotel later, when suddenly a man and a woman walked next to him. Wasn't it Ni Zhenming and Ni Haitang? "Uncle Lu, Uncle Zhao, Uncle Wang." Ni Zhenming greeted the city leaders first, and then said to Qi Minghui, "Second young man Qi is also here, what a stroke of luck." Mayor Lu just gave an ordinary nod of greeting. The affairs of the Nai family were well known to everyone in the upper-class circles of Guangzhou City. Qi Minghui had somehow managed to get an 11% stake in Nai's sanitary ware group, and as the group's second largest shareholder, Yang He Group, had always wanted to annex the entire Nai family as the majority shareholder, and right now Qi Minghui intended to sell the stake in his hands. The purpose of Nai Zhengming's search was self-evident. Qi Minghui walked to the side. Nai Zhengming immediately followed and said with a smile, "Hui Yang. The first thing you need to do is to get a good idea of what you are getting into. The first thing you need to do is to get a good idea of what you're doing." These days of running around have caused him to be mentally and physically exhausted, and his usual pride of being a rich young man has long since gone. If he were in the ordinary gentry, he would still have some face, but in front of the Qi family, I am afraid that even Qi Miao Miao would not give him face. Nai Haitang stepped forward and said, "Second young man Qi, hello, I am Nai Haitang, can we have a good talk?" Qi Minghui's heart moved. In fact, he had just noticed Qin Ming, who had come nearby, and knew that Qin Ming liked Nai Haitang, so he was not as cold in his attitude as he was towards Nai Zhengming. He thought about it and said, "There's nothing to talk about, I've given you enough hints. Nai Zhengming, think about what you've offended recently. I'll tell you one more thing, I'm taking it out for someone. As long as the other party is deflated, your Nai family will have to be saved. Of course, the most crucial point, to make the foreign ears of the whole Guang city, no longer overly close to the Nai family, no longer from the Nai family to find Qin Ming, so as to protect Qin Ming's whereabouts, is the most important purpose of Qi Minghui." Although, Qin Ming said in response, "I didn't even know you had such a tawdry plan, in any case you're overthinking it." Nai Haitang's eyebrows rose and she looked at Nai Zhengming with some anger. Who had this old man offended? She was angry at Nai Zhengming for stealing her mobile phone and talking to Qin Ming, which almost caused them to break up, but now she was distressed to see her brother in such a bad shape, and she hadn't even had time to shave. Nai Haitang pursued, "Qi Er Shao, please. Give us another hint. My brother is dumb, he may not be able to remember. Who exactly has my brother offended?" Qi Minghui shook his head and said, "That won't work, that nobleman himself said to let him think of it himself. If he can't remember, the shares will be sold and put up for sale on the day of the charity gala, and the money from the sale of the shares will be donated to the Blue Sky Foundation to save children with leukemia." The two siblings' hearts trembled as they listened. There were only 3 days left until the Huai Night El charity gala at the weekend. This was simply a countdown to torment. At this moment, Qin Xiaoyang walked over and said, "Minghui, I've seen my brother, I'll go over and have a chat, I won't go to dinner with you guys." Qi Minghui immediately said, "Brother Xiaoyang, you go, just leave such things as socializing to me." Qin Xiaoyang was rather ordinary, but both siblings could see that Qi Minghui respected Qin Xiaoyang a lot and called him brother. Moreover, going to dinner with the mayor and Qi Minghui was such a rare opportunity, but Qin Xiaoyang didn't care. Nai Haitang was very curious and said, "Second younger Qi, that one is. The first thing you need to do is to get a good idea of what you're getting into. Inside this big supermarket project, he's considered my superior, I guess." Nai Zhengming was stunned that this man, who looked as ordinary, unnamed, and a bit mute, was Qi Minghui's superior. Qi Minghui was also a bit bored with Nai Zhengming and said, "Don't come to me with your business, you can start with him or it will really be gone if you are late. I've already helped here, if you don't know what to do, you deserve to have your Nai family's estate change hands." After hearing this, Nai Zhengming hurried back to find Qin Xiaoyang. Chapter 149. Nai Zhengming said as he walked, "Obviously, that Qin Xiaoyang is the key, and maybe I don't know when I've offended him. Since he is Qi Minghui's superior, then as long as he opens his mouth, Qi Minghui will not target us again. Nai Haitang, however, was puzzled. Brother, he just said that his brother was here, and his surname is Qin, so he couldn't be Qin Ming's brother, could he? Qin Ming also said he has a supermarket project here, and he's still a partner. Nai Zhengming shook his head and said, it's just the same surname, it's impossible. Qin Ming's kind of poor? Pan Jun? I'm sorry. The same kind of poor man like Qin Ming? The same surname? The main reason for this is that he is not a person who can afford to go to school. What is the meaning of the word thrush? What is the best way to get the most out of your time? What is it that makes him a partner? What makes him a partner when you've got $1 million to invest? If he were a partner, I would chop off my head and give him a stool to sit on. The two siblings stopped Qin Xiaoyang, while the latter looked puzzled. You guys are looking for me for something? Qin Xiaoyang asked. Nai Zhengming said directly, Mr. Qin, is there something I have done to offend Mr. Qin? Please speak directly to Mr. Qin and I will definitely apologize to Mr. Qin. Please, Mr. Qin, don't sell 11% of our Nai's sanitary ware to Yang He Group. Qin Xiaoyang listened feeling unsure of what Nai Zhengming was talking about and said, what shareholding? What Yang He Group? I don't know what you're talking about. You've got the wrong person. Feeling that they had the wrong person, Qin Xiaoyang crossed directly over and walked to the shade, saying, Brother, you're here? Why don't you go over? Qin Ming said, Nothing, brother, you learn more from Qi Minghui, I'll be a hands-off boss from now on. At this time, Nai Zhengming also followed him over. He saw the two of them chatting so happily and remembered Qi Minghui's words. He still didn't understand. These two are brothers, ah. I go. Nai Zhengming's entire body was not good. A person that Qi Minghui respected so much was actually a brother to Qin Ming? Isn't Qin Ming just a poor Pankazak Kong Huang? Plutonium. The first thing you need to do is to get a good idea of what you are doing. Nai Zhengming's heart got a little harder. Nai Zhengming walked over, still pride and vanity, and angrily rebuked, Good for you Qin Ming, you communicated your personal vendetta. Qin Ming narrowed his eyes and teased, What's wrong? Brother-in-law. Nai Zhengming's face turned red and he said, Go away, who's your brother-in-law? Nai Haitang also glared at Qin Ming, thinking to herself, Aren't you adding fuel to the fire? But her heart was sweet, but she didn't retort. Nai Zhengming shouted angrily, You two brothers must have been behind this, whispering in Qi Minghui's ear and encouraging him to sell 11% of our family's shares to Yang He Group. Good for you, Qin Ming, so it was all you're doing. Aren't you just jealous of my money? How dare you make these little moves? Qin Xiaoyang was bewildered and said, This gentleman, are you mistaken about something? I just joined today, I haven't been at work for long, and I don't know you either. Nai Zhengming said, Don't sing double entendre, still trying to fool me? Qin Ming, do you think you're worthy of Haitang because our Nai family has fallen? Dream on you, I don't agree. Qin Ming's face was expressionless as he mocked, Last time you forced your sister to be a daughter-in-law to the He family, how come you were willing? Maybe the He family has more money. Don't give me the act of loving your sister. Nai Zhengming's mouth grew too big to speak, his face flushed red and he couldn't find the words to retort. But Nai Haitang stepped forward to defend Qin Ming, saying, Brother, don't accuse people indiscriminately. It's possible that Qin Ming doesn't know anything. He doesn't know Qi Minghui either. If Qin Ming had anything to do with this incident, he would have told me about it. Qin Ming was embarrassed, it was really all his doing. Qi Minghui also seemed to feel that his suspicions were untenable. However, he suddenly remembered that among the people he had offended recently, it seemed that he had offended Qin Ming. He said, I haven't gotten into any trouble lately, but this Qin Ming had a fight with me before when he paid back 100,000 yuan for Li Meng. He wouldn't use his connections to deliberately screw our family over that little matter, would he? Qin Ming was torn. He really wanted to knock Nai Zhengming because of that little matter, but he didn't think it was a small matter in his eyes. He didn't worry about it. It's true, you have the intention to educate people, but they don't care about you. It can be said that rotten wood can't be carved. Nai Haitang's chin nudged Qin Xiaoyang and said, "Brother, but just now Qi Minghui said that it might be more useful to find him. Is it actually hinting at Qin Ming? That Qin Ming can help us?" Qin Ming said in his heart, "It's still my girlfriend who is smart." Qin Ming said, "I can help your family anyway, believe it or not." Nai Zhengming was annoyed and said, "Humph, I don't believe it. You think our Nai family doesn't have a backer? Last time our Nai family was in the same crisis, we had help from the Ho family, and the Ho family is a truly powerful family in Guangzhou City. It's just a pity that Mr. Ho is away on a business trip right now, otherwise this wouldn't be a problem at all." Qin Ming said, "You mean you're not begging me?" Nai Zhengming said proudly, "I won't beg you even if I die. There is no need to ask you at all. This is your conspiracy." However, Nai Haitang pulled Qin Ming and said, "All right, Qin Ming, what's going on? You exchanged 100,000 for Li Meng? And you're still hanging out with her? I'm really getting angry." "Tisk, women's concerns are strange." Qin Ming said soothingly, "A debt of gratitude. She took care of my sister and my brother, a favor I returned. But I also want to teach my sister a lesson. She comes from a small place, she can't read people and is easily cheated. Although this Li Meng is full of lies, at least her purpose is clear, it's for money. I want her to learn a lesson so that she won't be afraid of being cheated in the future." Nai Haitang listened before she understood and let it go. She asked, "So this time it's related to you?" Qin Ming dared not admit it and said, "Well, it's not my business, it's probably because the Qi family wanted to mess with your brother." "How do you know your brother is not on board?" Nai Haitang was puzzled, "But my brother has approached Qi Er Shao many times. Just now he even asked us to find your brother, and said that your brother was his superior." Qin Xiaoyang smiled, "Then Ming Hui must have been joking with you. It's my first day at work, how can I be his boss?" The two siblings were in a quandary again. Weren't they being played by Qi Minghui? Qin Ming took the opportunity to say, "If you want to bow down to me and admit your mistake, I will beg my brother to go and talk to Qi Minghui, so that he can let you off, for Haitang's sake." Qin Xiaoyang listened, and although he didn't understand, he hurriedly said, "No problem." Nai Zhengming gritted his teeth and said, "Asking me to bow down with you, dream on." "Humph, big deal, I'll kneel down at the door of the Qi family for a long time. Sister, don't beg him that this kid is plotting against you." Nai Haitang made a red face. Qin Ming wanted to plot against her. Several times she was eaten by Qin Ming. At this moment, an Audi car drove over and came in front of the four of them. An unexpected man stepped out. Wasn't it Ho Qing, the head of the Guang City team of the Huanyu Century Group? The three of them were surprised. How did Ho Qing suddenly come here? Ho Qing got out of the car and immediately ran towards Qin Ming, but when he saw that there were other people there, he stood aside and waited. Nai Zhengming said excitedly, "Ha ha ha ha, Qin Ming, what are you so proud of? I never thought I could run into Chief Ho here. Last time it was Chief Ho who saved us, this time he can too. Oh, Mr. Ho might have come to help us personally. Our Nai family must have someone looking out for us behind the scenes. Qin Ming, I'm not going to apologize to you, let alone bow down to you. I'm not going to go along with you poor Pan Shell." Nai Zhengming was again spirited and smug. Qin Ming said indifferently, "I am indifferent, don't you regret it? Do you want to make a bet with me? If you can get Ho Qing to help you, then I'll apologize to you." If I can get Ho Ching to do it, you'll admit that I'm in a relationship with Haitang. Nai Zhengming said, you're just blowing it, you're still relying on your brother? Without your brother, you're nothing? I'll bet with you. Qin Ming smiled wickedly, okay, a man's word is his word, don't go back on it. Chapter 150. When Nai Zhengming saw Ho Ching, he went forward with a joyful face as if he had seen the savior and said, Mr. Ho, I didn't expect to see you here. I am Nai Zhengming from the Nai family, we met last time when we visited your home. Ho Ching gave a faint "oh" and didn't say much. In fact, he was a little annoyed because he hadn't handled the matter of helping the Nai family in a low profile last time, and it had become known, and the Nai family had made a big deal out of it, making it known to everyone, causing people to misunderstand that the Nai family had any connection with him, Ho Ching, which eventually led to Qin Ming's enemies coming to his door, and also led to him being temporarily transferred away from Guang City by Qin Ming. Of course he couldn't blame Qin Ming for letting him take action, he could only blame the Nai family's inability to come across this kind of crap. Nai Zhengming said, Mr. Ho, I'll be straightforward, our Nai family has something to ask of you, I'm begging you to save our lives. I hope you can help our Nai family once more. The 11% stake you bought from the He family last time is now being held by Qi Minghui, and if he wants to sell it to Yang He Group, then we, your Nai family, will be doomed. Didn't you say at the time that you wouldn't sell to Yang He Group and stand by our side at the shareholders' meeting? Ho Ching blackened his face directly upon hearing this, the last sentence was meant to be a rebuke. He helped out last time, making it necessary for him to leave Guang City temporarily, and this time he still came? Wouldn't he want his life? Ho Ching said nonchalantly, last time I went out to save your Nai family, I was also entrusted by someone. If someone hadn't asked me, why would I have bothered with your Nai family's affairs? Perhaps your Nai family has done something to upset others. Nai Zhengming's expression froze, so that was the case. But that day when the Nai family went to their door to give a gift, Ho Ching was clearly happy and enthusiastic, acting as if he wanted to deal with them more in the future, but he didn't expect to tell the truth now that the Nai family was in trouble again. Nai Haitang asked aside, Mr. Ho, please just tell us the truth, please. Who exactly is it? Ho Ching shook his head and said, I won't say anything. Nai Haitang asked, is it Qin Ming? Or his brother, Qin Xiaoyang? Ho Ching froze, and Nai Haitang basically guessed it, but he would not admit it, but was curious, the young master's elder brother? When Nai Haitang saw the confusion on Ho Ching's face, she asked, doesn't Mr. Ho know that man? Qi Minghui even said he was his boss, and I saw that he was dressed very plainly, so he should be a very low-key person. Oops, Ho Ching pursed his lips, chagrined in his heart, secretly annoyed that he had forgotten to bring a gift and had missed the opportunity to get close and let Qi's family get a head start. What would he do with his position as head of the Guangcheng team? Qi Yundong, you old cunt, you are unethical. Ho Ching said impatiently, you don't need to look for me, I won't make a move. Qi Yundong is still my old boss, I won't go against him. You guys should leave if you're alright, I'm here for Qin Ming's classmates, don't waste my time. Both Nai Zhengming and Nai Haitang felt their faces were shameless as they were directly driven away. Nai Zhengming clutched his head in chagrin, is that Qin Ming really that capable? So many connections. He's obviously just a poor Panjunk? Thunke Kai Song Zhenjun. Nai Zhengming couldn't figure it out, couldn't understand it, but right now the only way to save the Nai family was for him to bow down and admit his mistake to Qin Ming and admit his relationship with Nai Haitang. However, he learned that Ho Ching did not know Qin Xiaoyang, and he still had a glimmer of courage, saying, Qin Ming, Mr. Ho said that he did not know your brother Qin Xiaoyang at all, and you can talk to Mr. Ho? Your former backer's name is Dai Gao, right? That used to be one of Mr. Ho's men, and he's been fired. Where did you get the backbone? Qin Ming was very laid back beside him. Nai Haitang stepped forward and said, Qin Ming, you're still like this, look how you've tortured my brother and you're still smiling. Qin Ming said, it's not because you said you wanted me to take care of your family, so I'm not taking care of your brother first? Didn't your brother despise me? Then let him see my connections, won't he change his mind about me? Nai Haitang's face was tangled up in knots. Did she have to be the cause of this incident? Nai Haitang regretted it in her heart and said, if I had known I wouldn't have said that. Now that our Nai family's share price has plummeted, many of our old employees are leaving and jumping ship, my dad is annoyed to death every day. Qin Ming was stunned. He didn't expect his one word to have such a big impact on the Nai family, almost changing the fate of the Nai family. This feeling of having his hand on the life and death of a powerful family, Qin Ming was a bit floored. This was power. He said, Haitang, don't be in a hurry, I'll go over and ask, maybe my words will be useful. Qin Ming walked up and said, Ho Qing, you go and talk to Qi Minghui, forget about the Nai family. I can't deliberately screw people over because of my personal business. Although Ho Qing did not understand what Qin Ming was up to, he answered and went to do it. Not long after, Nai Jianming's mobile phone called. It was Nai Jianmin's phone, praising him for finally taking care of the matter this time. Qi Minghui promised not to sell the 11% shareholding, and asked Nai Jianming to get along well with Qi Minghui and so on. Nai Jianming was embarrassed, but he hadn't achieved anything. With one word from Qin Ming, he had solved the big problem that had been bothering his family for days. Moreover, Qin Ming personally asked Ho Qing to do it. The scene was so awkward that Nai Jianming didn't even know what attitude to use to face Qin Ming. But in his heart, Nai Jianming was relieved that the Nai family's troubles had finally passed. Qin Ming spread both hands and said, how about it? Brother-in-law, willing to bet and accept defeat. Oh, don't oppose me and Haitang being together again. You. Nai Jianming was furious, but there was nothing he could do. After all, Qin Ming had only helped the Nai family to tide over the difficult times. Exasperated, Nai Jianming dropped a bank card and said, pay you back 100,000 yuan, password 61. Sister, come back with me, Dad is looking for us. Furious, Nai Jianming pulled Nai Haitang with him and turned his head to walk away, the Mercedes Maybach engine roaring as he quickly disappeared down the road. Qin Ming hurriedly called out, hey, you're a big man, don't go back on your word. Hey, this brother-in-law can be really stubborn. After Nai Jianming's siblings left, Ho Qing hurriedly came forward. Qin Ming asked, what's wrong? Didn't I tell you to leave Guang City for now? Ho Qing said nervously, young master, I heard that you are changing the head of the Guang City industry in charge of the group. Actually, After hearing this, Qin Ming laughed out loud, so it's this matter, Ho Qing, you can't let go of the fat job of head of the Guang City team, right? Ho Qing's old face flushed, his mind was guessed by Qin Ming. Although Ho Qing had left Guang City, many of the people in the industry were his subordinates, so they would naturally give him information. But in terms of income, it is more or less the same than Qi Yundong, but in terms of gift-giving, Ho Qing is much more, and this place in Guangzhou City, he is also a little more scenic, and his words are more useful. After all, Guangzhou is the capital of the province and is a first-tier city in China, so it is influential enough. Ho Qing said, some people say that the young master is going to leave the position of head of the Guangcheng team to Qi Minghui. I would like to come to confirm this to young master. My subordinates will of course obey young master's job transfer and arrangement, but there are just some things that need to be prepared and transitioned a bit in advance to avoid having their hands tied when the time comes for the handover, which will affect a lot of business. Qin Ming spared a glance at Ho Qing, who was slightly vain. He patted Ho Qing and said, don't worry, Ho Qing, the position of team leader in Guang City is still yours. When Chang Huan's people are a little less active, you will come back. I'm just testing Qi Minghui as a person now, and he's really a talent. But I have another role to play with him." After hearing this, Ho Qing's heart settled and the nervousness on his face was gone as he hastily added, "Young master, please rest assured that no one will know that I have secretly come back to Guang City this time." Looking at this appearance of Ho Qing, Qin Ming could not help but feel emotional about the workplace of Huanyu Century Group. Every position could provoke the coveting of talents from all walks of life, lest they be lost. If he couldn't handle it properly, I'm afraid it would cause dissatisfaction from all sides. This way of harnessing people can really be the art of emperors. Qin Ming said, "You do your job, I am at ease. You go about your business." Ho Qing handed over another invoice and said, "By the way, young master, I heard that young master will also go to the Huai Night Charity Gala at the weekend, so I took the liberty to order 2 sets of new dresses for the gala for young master, also one for men and one for women, and a batch of diamond jewelry for women. It's at the Dream Place in Wanda Square. Young master can collect it directly when you report your name." Qin Ming took the invoice nonchalantly. It was an offering from his men. If he didn't accept it, Ho Qing probably wouldn't be able to walk in peace. However, Nai Haitang had been taken away by Nai Zhengming. He couldn't go to see the dresses alone, could he?